Even sending just $100 a month really helps.
What? I'm sending you $1,000 a month.
Huh?
I got a thank you call from my son who's attending college. He was grateful and said even $100 helps. But I'm sending him $1,000, one digit short. It's been a year since I started sending money. Someone must be skimming it. I decided to set a trap. My name is Allison James, a 40-year-old single parent. I've technically been single for 20 years, though I officially divorced a year ago. I married my ex, Mike, when I was just 20, 2 years into my job. I rushed into marriage because I was afraid of ending up alone. I lost my only parent in high school, and I had no siblings or close relatives nearby. My friends stayed in touch, but after they all went off to college, we drifted apart. I didn't go to college and started working at an electronics manufacturer in town. My job wasn't particularly exciting, and I'd return home to an empty house every night. That's when I met Mike, who would become my husband. He was 5 years older, a successful salesman, and very popular among the women at work. I admired him, but it was his inner kindness that truly drew me in.
Sorry to ask, but I heard your parents passed away? I'm in the same boat, you know. We're both kind of alone.
Mike had been raised by a single mom who passed away when he was in college. He started paying more attention to me, and we ended up spending time together. I had a one-sided crush, but just seeing him made my days brighter.
Allison, would you go out with me?
I was over the moon when he asked me out at a fancy restaurant I'd never been to. Are you sure you want to be with me?
Yes, Allison. I'm drawn to your pure heart. I want to protect you like your parents would have.
His sweet words won me over. At the time, I didn't realize that I was the perfect target. I had no in-laws to deal with, and I even had a house. Plus, Mike had debts. I didn't notice how perfect his setup was.
I actually have some debt. Before we met, I was engaged to someone else. She threatened to sue me when I tried to break up with her, so I had to borrow money for her settlement.
I was naive and believed his story. I ended up using half of my salary to help pay off his debt, while the rest went to our living expenses. Mike was the kind of man who wouldn't just ignore a caught fish. He'd squeeze it dry. He spent his earnings on work and socializing, leaving me to cover the rest. But I wanted him to stay stylish and successful at work, so I didn't mind. Just as we were seeing the end of his debt, I found out I was pregnant. I thought I was a perfect addition to our family. I told Mike with excitement, but he looked confused and a bit annoyed.
A baby?
He quickly corrected himself.
Oh no, I'm happy. I'm just worried about you being so young and already a mom.
He covered his tracks well, probably because I still had some use to him.
You can take maternity leave, but return to work as soon as possible.
I planned to work until I couldn't, but the morning sickness made it impossible, so I quit. That's when Mike stopped coming home as much, claiming he was busy with work. I was left with only $300 a month to live on. When I asked for more, he said he was broke and couldn't help. So I started dipping into the small savings my parents had left me. Eventually, I gave birth to a baby boy, Sean. Mike didn't come to the hospital, but I didn't care. I was overjoyed to have Sean and vowed to do my best for him. I thought Mike would change after Sean was born, but the only thing that changed was his cologne. He had a new woman. He'd hold Sean for a minute, then leave again. I asked him for more financial support, but he just dodged the question. Eventually, I realized Mike didn't love me and maybe never did, but I wasn't ready to be alone. When Sean turned 5, I decided I'd divorce Mike once Sean started elementary school. A father like Mike was more of a burden than a help. Watching Sean grow up gave me the strength I needed. When Sean started school, I found a part-time job at a local grocery store. The savings were gone and I needed the money. I started working at a busy store that had been around since I was a kid. My manager was kind and understanding, and the job paid well, but it was exhausting. Standing all day and lifting heavy items was tough, and I struggled to keep up. One of the older employees, Emma, wasn't easy on me. "You're in the way. Can't you even lift that?" Emma, who was my mother's age, lifted things with ease. I had to be stronger for Sean. When I told Mike about my job, his response was predictable.
Why don't you try living off your own salary? You should get used to saving now since Sean's going to need money for school.
Eventually, Mike stopped giving me any money at all. At first, I was upset, but I quickly realized it was a relief. I could earn what I needed in just a few days at work. One day, Emma surprised me. "I thought you'd quit by now, but you've got grit. I'll teach you something new tomorrow, but be ready. It's tougher work." Slowly, Emma started warming up to me. She was also a single parent, raising 2 sons by herself since she was 20. Eventually, Emma introduced me to her family, and Sean became close to her grandsons. One day, Sean made a request. "Mom, can I take karate lessons like Emma's sons?" By then, I was making enough to afford it, so I agreed. "Thanks, Mom. I'll get strong and protect you." His words made me feel stronger and happier. I had found a family in Emma and her sons, and my life felt full. The only thing left hanging over me was Mike's presence. He'd come home occasionally and say things like,
"Sean, how's kindergarten?"
"Dad, I'm in elementary school now." Mike didn't even know how old his son was. Despite his looks and success, he was a terrible husband and father. I longed to be free from him. I figured I'd wait until Sean was a bit older, maybe in high school, before divorcing Mike. Sean, now in middle school, was excelling academically. He aimed to attend one of the best high schools in the state. He told me,
"I'll get a good job and make sure you don't have to worry anymore, Mom."
His words motivated me to work harder. After all, I had been saving up for Sean's future just as my parents had saved for me. Sean got into the top school, and I felt proud. One day, Sean asked to get a part-time job.
"I feel bad that you're spending so much on me. When's the last time you bought yourself something, Mom? You deserve to treat yourself."
I joked. When have I ever been stylish? But he wasn't joking.
"Mom, you should divorce Dad."
I froze. What?
"I've been thinking about whether to tell you, but I've seen Dad with other women. And not just once, several times."
Sean has seen Mike with different women after school, both as a middle and high schooler. The thought of him meeting other women so close to our home made my blood boil.
"I don't need to go to college if it's too much of a burden on you. I'll be fine, Mom, as long as I can help you."
My son had grown so much. He didn't remember the promise he made to protect me when he was little, but now he was ready to help. "I'll divorce your dad, Sean, but only after you've started college. I don't want to cause any issues for you while you're still in school. Plus, Dad barely comes home anyway, so nothing will really change for now." Sean nodded in agreement. I've already got a part-time job lined up. It turns out Sean had asked my boss, the store manager, for a job.
The manager even offered to tutor me on Sundays.
The manager had always been kind to me, and now he was helping my son. Sean was working hard, and his grades kept improving. By his final year of high school, Mike had started coming home more often. He was in his 40s now, balding, overweight, and no longer the attractive man he once was. Most women had stopped paying attention to him, but he still wasn't home every night, so someone must have still been around. Sean rarely spoke to him, and I was cold to him. Finally, Sean got into his dream school. It was one of the happiest moments of my life. The store even threw a party to celebrate. Sean's success also meant the end of my marriage. I had planned to wait until Sean moved out before filing for divorce. One day, Mike came to me with a ridiculous idea.
"Since Sean's moving out, why don't we sell the house?"
The house my parents left me? Absolutely not.
"I think a smaller place, like a condo, would be safer for us."
I should have seen the warning signs, but I didn't suspect anything. A few days later, I went to the bank to transfer Sean's tuition money and noticed something was wrong. The balance was much lower than it should have been. My account had been drained of $200,000. I rushed home, where Mike was lounging on the couch with a beer. I calmly asked him, "Mike, $200,000 has been taken out of my account. Do you know anything about that?"
"Wow, that's a lot of money. I don't know anything about it."
"Then I guess I'll have to call the police." Mike's hand stopped mid-drink.
"Actually, I borrowed it, but I'll pay it back."
I didn't let him finish. I grabbed the beer from his hand and poured it down the sink.
"Hey, what are you doing? I said I'll pay it back."
I grabbed his collar. "Don't you dare lie to me." Mike shrieked, and Sean came rushing downstairs.
"What's going on, Mom?"
"This man used up all your tuition money."
"What?" "It's just a small loan. I'll pay it back next year."
That was it for me. I couldn't hold back any longer.
"Calm down, Mom."
Sean pulled me away, but I was furious. "Tell the truth. What did you spend the money on?"
"I had an affair with my boss's wife, and I was paying off the settlement."
He was scared of losing his job, so he paid her off.
"If I got fired, it'll hurt all of us, right?"
It was all about protecting himself. The money was gone, and there was nothing I could do to get it back. I threw the divorce papers on the table. Mike was stunned. I told him, "Sign it or I'll do something you'll regret." He was too scared to resist and signed. Then I told him, "Get out and don't ever come back." Mike quickly packed his things and left. I should have forced a proper divorce with full compensation, but at that moment, I just wanted him gone. I broke down and cried, apologizing to Sean.
It's okay, Mom. We'll figure something out.
I knew what I had to do. I went to the grocery store and begged the manager and Emma for help. That's awful. You remind me of my daughter. I'll take care of it.
I'll help too.
I was overwhelmed with gratitude. A week later, Emma had secured $200,000 in compensation for me. It was a miracle. Thanks to her, Sean was able to start his new life at college. I finally had peace in my life. A year later, Sean called me.
Sorry, I've been busy with work and haven't called. Thanks for the monthly allowance, Mom. Even $100 help.
Oh, wait, I've been sending $1,000.
Huh?
Something was wrong. That's when I set my plan into motion. I knew someone had been taking the money, and there was only one person who could have done it, Mike. But I wasn't sure how far he would go, so I decided to set a trap. I asked Sean to come back home for a while. If the money was being stolen, whoever it was would come looking for it. A week after I stopped sending the allowance, I got a call. Hello?
Hey, Allison, long time no talk. How's Sean doing?
He's doing fine, Mike. Actually, he's back at home now.
Oh, but isn't that far from his school? Wouldn't it be better for him to live closer and for you to keep sending the allowance?
That confirmed it. It was Mike. He never knew about the allowance, and yet he was bringing it up. How about you come over to see Sean? We're thinking of selling the house, so it might be nice to say goodbye.
Selling the house, huh? Yeah. I'll come by.
He took the bait. On the day Mike came, he looked terrible, unkempt, smelling bad, and wearing dirty clothes. The man who once prided himself on his looks was now a mess. I gave Sean a signal, and he quickly held Mike down while I searched his bag.
What are you doing? Let me go.
Inside, I found Sean's missing bank book. For the past year, Mike had been withdrawing $900 every month. I held the bank book up and asked, "What's this, Mike?"
I just borrowed a little.
Borrowed? You've been stealing from your own son.
I didn't take all of it. I left $100 each time.
His excuses were pathetic. When are you going to pay it back? And what about the $200,000 you already owe? You said you'd pay that back too, remember?
I'm unemployed right now, but I swear I'll pay it back.
Of course, I knew he was unemployed, because I had a hand in it. After Mike's affair with his boss's wife was exposed, he was demoted and eventually left the company. His reputation was in tatters, and no one would hire him. It was all thanks to Emma's connections. Everyone in town knew about his affairs, and he became a laughingstock. You owe at least $500,000, Mike. And that's for the money you stole, the compensation you promised, and the years of unpaid support. How are you going to pay all of that back? Mike fell to his knees and begged.
I'm sorry, Allison, please, forgive me.
I kept going. While you were out spending money with your lovers, I was barely making ends meet. Your mistresses even came to our house to harass me, but I stayed strong for Sean, and you betrayed him too. You really are a hopeless case, aren't you?
Who the hell are you?
I'm Allison's stand-in parent. I got compensation from your mistresses, by the way. Emma had taught me that I had 3 years to claim damages for Mike's affairs. We've got 3 years from today to get everything you owe. Emma had found all of Mike's former mistresses and collected compensation from them. In total, the sum had reached $300,000. It turns out Mike had been unfaithful with several women at work and in the area. And you know what they said? They said you were cheap. You never bought them gifts or took them anywhere nice.
You don't have to say that in front of Sean. I wanted to hear it. I asked Mom to let me see what kind of man you really are. You're worse than I thought. Now I can move on without feeling bad for you. But son, you're a man too. You'll understand someday. I'll never be like you. In fact, I'm going to become a lawyer just so I can deal with people like you.
Mike looked devastated. And by the way, I think you owe some dangerous people money, don't you? The kind of people who don't care about the law. Look outside. We had hired 2 of Emma's grandsons to act as tough guys and park a fancy car outside. When Mike saw them, he panicked.
Please, Allison, help me. I'm in real trouble. We could sell the house and I'll change. I'll make it up to you and Sean.
I dropped the bombshell. I'm getting remarried.
What? To who? To the store manager. He's been more of a father to me than you ever were.
And if you ever show up again, I'll make sure those guys outside know where to find you. They'll never stop hunting you down. Mike bolted out of the house, never to be seen again. Thanks to Emma, I had finally escaped him. She had been through something similar with her own terrible ex-husband. Emma raised her 2 sons alone, and now they were both lawyers. They helped us every step of the way. When Emma suggested going after Mike's mistresses for compensation, I was shocked, but it worked. After everything was settled, I told her I wanted to pay her back. "You're like a daughter to me. I won't take your money." In the end, we managed to get through it all, thanks to Emma and her family. Her grandsons even enjoyed pretending to be the tough guys in this little operation. One day, Emma pulled me outside. "You know, you really should pay attention to the store manager." I was confused at first, but soon after, the store manager confessed his feelings for me. I had no idea he cared that much. "He's a good man. You deserve happiness." With Sean's encouragement, I decided to remarry. I'll always be grateful to Emma and her family. And now, after everything, I can finally say I'm the happiest person in the world.